One of the things I love about Terraria is that you can almost explore everywhere in the world right from the start of the game. This gives the player tons of freedom with how they want to play the game, but it can be risky as some areas are guarded by some truly powerful enemies for new players to encounter. How's it going, crew? This is Happy Days, and today we're looking at my personal top 5 overpowered enemies for the early game. Please note that this list considers you have a relatively new character that hasn't done much powering up yet and is simply out exploring. Naturally, as you progress through the game, these enemies will get easier due to your equipment and hit points. With that said, let's get started. One of my favourite things to do with a new character is make straight for the underground desert biome and loot all of the easily accessible gold chests for some quick powering up. Most of the enemies can be avoided, but as of the Terraria 1.3.3 update, the Tomb Crawler, a worm-type enemy that usually leaves the player alone, had its AI changed and has become a lot more aggressive. The Tomb Crawler can kill a brand new player in 2 hits in expert mode and is almost impossible to escape from if you're trying to do a bit of cheeky early game looting without good mobility items. I really like that the devs made these worms aggressively chase the player, as before it was too easy to get a massive head start by cheesing the underground desert biome. The Terraria 1.3 update introduced the granite and marble biomes, and with them a whole bunch of new enemies. In vanilla Terraria, there is generally just some basic loot and possibly a heart crystal in these biomes, but some of the enemies that spawn here can completely destroy new players. The HOPLITE, a ranged skeleton enemy from the marble biome, can attack the player from incredible ranges with its javelins and fires quite quickly. In X-Men, they can almost one-hit kill a brand new character, dealing 96 damage with their javelins, so you're likely to die anyway if you've taken any damage at all. What makes them even more overpowered is that the player may not have even detected them while the HOPLITE is already lining up an attack, meaning you won't know it's there until you've been hit. Our next enemy on the list is actually a mini-boss, but as most new players will encounter it by surprise, I still wanted to include it, and that enemy is the Dark Mage. The Dark Mage spawns as part of the Old One's Army event, and is the final boss of the Tier 1 version of this event, which can be challenged as soon as you've defeated the Eater of Worlds and found the Tavern Keep NPC. Not only does the player have to deal with hordes of enemies trying to smash their Eternia crystal, this beastly mage deals up to 80 damage a hit in expert mode, can summon extra enemies, and can heal all of the enemies around it, whilst also having high armor value, making weapons like the Mini Shark basically useless against it. New characters generally make their way down to the cavern layer quite easily early in the game. Very rarely you might encounter a poor lost girl who innocently looks at you as if asking for help. If you approach or attack this girl, however, you will find yourself in a fight to the death against a deadly nymph. Nymphs have high armor, knockback resistance, and damage, meaning if you encounter one with only basic starter equipment, you are unlikely to survive. With 16 defense, the nymph shrugs off most early game weapons and will quickly close in on you and can kill a new character in 2 hits in expert mode. Nymphs can easily be exploited due to their fighter AI, however, so if you can stay out of their reach and attack with a ranged weapon, you should be okay. Before we move on to our number 1 spot, I wanted to do an honourable mention. Like the nymph, there's another rare enemy that spawns quite close to the underworld with increased chances if you're wearing a gemmed robe. That enemy is Tim the Skeleton Mage. Tim can teleport around the player and fires 3 reasonably damaging magic bolts before teleporting again. The reason he isn't on this list though is by the time you encounter him, you've likely done a fair bit of powering up, and his low defense and hit point totals makes him not too difficult to kill. Our number 1 spot today is a special one indeed. A lot of players encounter this enemy by complete accident, and it's quite a shocking experience the first time it happens. That enemy is the Dungeon Guardian. The Dungeon Guardian spawns when a player tries to enter the dungeon before beating Skeletron. It has insane amounts of health, armor, and damage, and generally kills players in a single hit. The Dungeon Guardian has become something of a challenge for players to overcome, and there's several strategies for killing it, which awards the player with the Bone Key so you can summon a baby Skeletron head pet. Well, there you have it folks, my personal top 5 overpowered early game enemies. How did your list compare with mine? There's a card on screen now for you to place your vote, and let me know in the comments what your favourites are and why. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button with a cookie, and if you'd like to keep binge watching our videos, why not check one of these out? And here's the most important part, as always, you'll stay happy and I'll see you soon. This is Happy Day signing out. See ya!